Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm excited to show you this unique smoker build that I've been working on using an old pressure tank that we had hanging around. Now this is some old footage, so we did lose a few clips, but I think overall we're going to learn something really cool here. This started off as an industrial pressure tank, similar to what you would find at home in a well system, but much larger. It was just sitting there collecting dust, and we figured why not give it a new life as a backyard smoker. I had some work to do on this guy before I could cut into it. I had to remove all the handles, flanges, and the base of the tank had to be removed. The first step was removing the rubber bladder from the inside. And if you've ever worked on one of these before, you know they have a flexible liner to hold the water on the inside. That's why I decided to use the zip cut instead of the oxy fuel or the torch. I didn't want to burn that rubber. I carefully cut into it and pulled the bladder out. A bit of a job, but totally worth it. Once the inside was cleaned out, I was left with a nice steel round body, perfect for a smoker. No need to roll or form the steel, which saved me a ton of time. Now, as mentioned, once I had it down to bare bones, it was time to cut into it. Using that zip cut on a grinder over the plasma or torch gave me a nice clean cut that was as close to the original dimensions of the layout, because I'll be using this cutout as the door of the smoker. Next up, since I have that cutout, it was time to lay out that door. I cut some 1.5" by 1/8 flat bar to strap the main lid. This finished the lid nicely and acts as a stopper when opening and closing the barbecue. You can see here how this worked out perfect, as I was able to cut on the inside of that previous weld. I was left with a nice little backing ring where the lid will sit. Next, I used the plate roller to shape the side straps. I totally could have got away without the roller, but this step made my life a little easier. We gave the top and the bottom of that strap a little profile to give it a better fit. Now, because the lid fell out of shape a little bit from the cut, I wanted to roll it out for a better fit. Again, you don't need to do this part if you don't have that plate roller, but it definitely helped. Another option is to use some ratchet straps in a few places to bring that back to shape. We used a few different welding processes on this smoker, but for that lid with those straps, I decided to TIG weld them and just put little spot welds every 4 inches or so. Now let's get this thing off the floor. Let's build some legs. I took the radius from the pressure tank and transferred it to the top of the legs for a tight fit up. With a couple jack stands, I squared off my first leg. Then I did the same for the other 3 in the exact location. By drawing a horizontal line down the front and back, I was able to put the legs in the exact location. After putting all 4 legs in, we added some cross members to lock this baby in. Our firebox is built out of 3/16 material. I wouldn't recommend going any thinner, as this thing is really going to take some heat. I built the box out of some beautiful cutoffs that we had hanging around. Use the brake to bend the 2 sides. Once again, this is completely optional. After overbending a few times, I got these dimensions right. Now we're putting that firebox together, creating a nice outside corner joint. Just tacking for now, we'll weld that thing out later. Again, if you don't have your pieces bent on the brake, you can simply weld all 4 sides together. With my tacks in place, I'm going to check it for square. Now, if you look closely, you can see my little tabs. My Bessie clamp was slipping on that corner, so I used these flat spots to secure my clamp. Once nice and square, let's put the back on. This is a rectangular plate with the dimensions of my firebox with a flat bar tack to it. It'll help me hold it in place for tacking. Now that firebox needs a door. The inside dimension will need to fit on the outside of that firebox. Because we're bending 4 sides, we need to notch all 4 corners. This is for the 3/4 inch lip on the door. It's time to do some welding. I found going downhill on these welds to be the most efficient. Now this isn't anything structural, so we don't have anything to worry about. This will work just fine. With the barrel and firebox complete, I created my opening into the barrel and the box. Now be advised that this was the most time-consuming part of the project, as I didn't want to oversize the hole and have a giant gap to fill later on. So I was back and forth little by little, cutting and checking. Once cut the size, I cleaned it up with the grinder and tacked it in place. Last few items, I apologize, we don't have footage for this. I added hinges, handles, and a few other accessories. I tossed in some grates, welded in a chimney on the opposite side of the firebox, and gave everything a good burnout. And I seasoned the inside. Lastly, we gave it a few coats of high heat paint. That's when it really started to look and feel like a smoker. This was a super fun build, and it just goes to show you don't need any fancy materials to make something cool and functional. If you've got a pressure tank sitting around, this might be your next project. So if you like this build, hit that button and subscribe for more welding and fabrication projects. Got questions? Drop me a comment below. So keep those lenses clean, and we'll catch you on the next one.